Well, this is something people do here in Peru. Something to satisfy your needs. Talking about cooking, of course. I'm upside down, now I'm good. And then I'm upside down, doesn't matter, right? Hello everyone, again one more time in my rooftop studio. Today I'm bringing a really special dish to you. This dish to you. This is another must try of Peruvian food. If you've tried this before, you know how tasty and unique this dish can be. And if you haven't, don't worry, I'm gonna show you a really easy way to bring a little bit of Peruvian culture and flavor to your tables. This dish is called... Ding! No, that's not it. Okay. Aji De Gallina. Before telling you the ingredients and showing you how to make this, let's talk a little bit about this dish. Why is Aji De Gallina? Where this dish comes from. If you like what you're watching right now and you want us to keep creating more content like this, don't forget, please subscribe, like, and share this with your friends. This helps us a lot to keep going. Based on food historians, Aji de Gallina is related to really dense cream, a really sweet one we call manjar blanco. This manjar blanco sweet is used in lots of different kinds of dessert, especially in South America. One of the countries where this is mostly used and where they made a unique kind of this, it's Argentina. By the way, they call it dulce de leche. But manjar blanco and ají de gallina have the same origin, and this is manjar blanc. This dish is part of Catalan medieval cookery. The main ingredients of this are almonds, sugar, rice, and before they would use chicken or hen stock. So this is more like a dessert, more like than a main dish. When this dish arrived to Peru in the 16th century, a complete different way from how it used to be. After the technique and these ingredients met the Peruvian culture, especially the yellow pepper. This changed the whole thing over there, creating a new fusion dish, a new flavor, and everything thanks to this baby here. I'm gonna show you the ingredients we need to make this dish right now. So, I'm gonna make the rice right now. We should have this ready before we start making our sauce or ají de gallina. Making rice is the most simple thing ever. Just put water, put the rice, salt, etc. When I came here to Cusco, things were a little bit different. All my life when I made rice at sea level, it was like that. Put the rice, garlic, because I like it with garlic, water, put the lid on, forget about it for like 20 minutes, check in, and that's it. But here in Cusco, at over 3,000 meters altitude, things were a little bit different. Fireworks, 28 of July. There are many ways to do it. You put a lot of water boiling, you put the rice in, and after, I would say 10 minutes, 15, depending on the amount of rice, you try it. If it's cooked, you strain the water, and then let it get dry, and that's how you have good rice. I do it a little bit different. I put my pot there with really low fire, a bit of oil, and garlic. Garlic to me is essential when we make rice. I let it there, and then let it burn. That's why we have a really low fire. After that, put a bit more oil if necessary, then put the rice. I mix it with the rice really well. Then I cover it with water, and let it boil. Let it boil in a stronger fire with the lid. So for moments on, for moments out. When it gets dry, I try, and if it's not cooked, I just add more water, and that's it until it gets cooked. When it's almost ready and still a bit more water inside, or if it's dry, I put a bit of water, I put the lid on, I let it rest in really low fire for between 8 and 10 minutes, depending how the rice is. Well, this is something people do here in Peru, and they put a plastic bag inside to make the rice dry, and all the steam is gonna get there, but yeah, I don't think that's good, so don't do it. So now, for this dish, we also need boiled chicken, and we're gonna use a chicken breast here. We're gonna boil the chicken, but we're also gonna use the stock we're gonna make there for making this dish. Let's keep it easy, let's keep it simple. We have our chicken, let's clean it. Let's take the fat out, all the fat out, the skin out, and we put it on the side. Then there's some vegetables that we're gonna add to add some more flavor to this, such as leek, carrots, onion, garlic. You can add many more, it's totally up to you. This is gonna be like a simple stock, a really simple. If, I don't know, at restaurants, if you wanna make a stock for a dish, it's gonna take you 5-8 hours approximately, cooked at medium fire. So we concentrate the flavors more there. But maybe here we don't need to do such a thing. So don't worry, we're gonna keep it simple here. In the case of these vegetables, we're gonna cut them in mirepoix. If you've seen the cooking technique videos, you're gonna know what I mean. This is really simple. We need to do irregular cuts. It can be big. You can cut the onion just in 4 or in 2 or in a little bit more, because we're just gonna add the flavor. We're not gonna eat any of these vegetables here. And when we start making this stock, it's really important that we start making this with cold water. There's something called osmosis process. Well, I'm not an expert on that, but you can read some on Google. To be able to pass all the flavors of the vegetables to the water and make this stock tasty, that is why we need to put everything in cold water. If we put everything when the water is boiling, believe me, the result is not gonna be the same. And this is proved. Now that our chicken is boiled, we're gonna take it out. Well, we use a colander for taking the stock on the side in a separate bowl and let it rest. About the chicken, we're gonna let it rest for a couple of minutes so still gets juicy inside and soft. If we open right away, it's gonna lose all of that. Traditionally, in Peru, when we make this dish, we shred the chicken. A little piece of chicken, after you shred all of it, is gonna look like a lot. And this is one of those dishes that is not hard to make, it's not expensive. So our moms or whoever was in charge of the kitchen, typically our moms, used to make it this way to make it last for longer, especially for bigger families. In my family, we were 7 people plus a dog. Of course, there's no way we would have afforded to do it in another way. You're gonna edit this to make it sound good, right? But if you want to taste more the chicken and you want to taste it more, you want more chicken that you have more chicken, you're just gonna cut it in cubes. That's gonna be definitely better. You're gonna taste it, you're gonna feel it there. In this case, I'm gonna use an ingredient that is not part of the classic recipe, and this is cheese. As I said, it's not part of the classic recipe, but I love adding this at the end. It can add a little touch of texture and a bit of flavor. Well, we don't need to add flavor to this dish, but depending on the kind of cheese, it can be a good result or a bad one. That's why here I have 4 kinds of cheeses. All of them melt really well. I'm just gonna shred them. I'm gonna use some of them at the end. Believe me, it's gonna add that cheesy texture at the end that's gonna make you love this dish even more. But remember, it's just optional. About the onion, right now, we're gonna chop this. We're gonna get this ready for making our sauce. And there's a couple of ways you can make this. You can chop this really small in brunoise, in really tiny cubes, or we can cut this in these vertical slices, feathers. So you decide which one you want to make. I prefer to cut it in feathers. I've made it like this most of times, but making this in brunoise wouldn't be a problem. No harm. Whatever you decide. So you decide. So now that we have everything ready, let's start cooking. So first of all, we're gonna put our pot on the burner. We turn on the burner and we need to have a really low fire for the moment. What we need to do now is make the onion sweat and make like quite transparent, release the aroma, the flavor. If we put a strong fire, that's not gonna happen. We're gonna burn it. We put our onion inside and we're gonna start stirring this. After we let it cook for a couple of minutes, we are gonna add 2 ingredients here. A little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Let's keep going. Let's keep stirring there. In case this is getting dry, make sure the temperature is not too high, but if it's getting dry anyway, we're gonna add little bit more of oil and we're gonna keep stirring. This mix we have here is called sofrito. But for that, we still need a couple of more ingredients, more seasoning and more flavor. It's been around 4 minutes, 5 minutes since I started this. You can see the result of it. The onion started sweating more. It's cooking really well with a bit of oil I added. So now it's time to add our mashed garlic and the paste of the yellow pepper, the Aji Amarillo paste. We stir, and we're gonna let it rest for a couple of minutes again. We're gonna know this sofrito, this mix, this base seasoning is ready when we see all this mix between the paste, the pepper paste and the onion, the garlic. This got really well mixed. The onion absorbed that flavor, but around it you're gonna see quite releasing this oil. So you're gonna see this pot quite oily and a little bit yellow. That's when we know this is ready and we can continue from here. So we're gonna keep mixing, and for this we need to have our stock ready to use with a spoon. Right now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add some crackers. These crackers that I'm using are quite salty, but not strong in flavor. And this is something that we need. You can use also bread or breadcrumbs. The thing is that when we use bread, we soak the bread in milk first. It can be half an hour, 20 minutes, 1 hour. It's gonna get softer, and then we add it here, and it's gonna start kind of like melting, but we have to stir it. But there's a problem for me. I'm not patient, so I prefer to use these crackers. I could even blend these crackers and have these like in a powder. It would be easier here to mix it with this base seasoning. You could also use breadcrumbs, but if you use bread or breadcrumbs, make sure the flavor is not too intense, not invasive. We don't want to make this dish taste like bread. In the case of breadcrumbs and crackers, it's gonna start getting dried. So we're gonna add a little bit of stock, and that's the mix we're gonna do. A bit of crackers or breadcrumbs, a bit of stock. In the case of bread soaked in evaporated milk, well, it's not gonna get that dried, of course, because that's gonna be with some milk. But anyway, we have to pay attention of how dried it gets, and we are gonna start playing with its stock and crackers. Stock and crackers. This sauce shouldn't be that thick. We're gonna add more ingredients later that is gonna make it thicker, so don't worry. So right now I'm making this a little bit liquidy. You'll see later how I change the texture of this. When we have this and it's quite well mixed, you can try a little bit. Don't worry, the flavor is not gonna be yet like that wow, but you need to feel the yellow pepper paste. That's or the flavor of the sauce we're using. Last time I showed you how to, well, cheat and replace this for making a crema a la huancaína, so we can use the same sauce here, definitely. But our sauce now needs to have that flavor because that's the main ingredient, that's the main flavor of this dish. So we need to make sure that's the flavor we have here right now. We keep stirring, and after that it's time to add our evaporated milk. But for this, let's turn the fire a little bit down. We don't want this reaction when we separate this milk when it's on the heat for too long. So we put the fire a bit down and we keep stirring. Otherwise, we would also burn the base of the pot, and that happens pretty often. After this is mixed, we're gonna try. Maybe we need a bit more crackers, maybe we need a bit more stock, maybe a bit more milk, and we're gonna figure that out right now at this moment. So we're gonna add our chopped chicken, our shredded chicken, whatever we have. This is the moment to add this. So we put it in, we stir really well, and again, we try. Right after that, we go with our pecans. These chopped pecans are gonna add a different texture, and well, I'm really excited to try this. This is looking really good. I would even say this looks so close to what my mom always makes. And then, as I told you before, optional, the cheese. I'm gonna add the cheese on top, and I'm gonna stir this. This is gonna start melting really quick, and it's gonna add a totally different texture to this. I always love making this dish with the cheese on top, but this is gonna be always up to you. If you don't want, what can I do? Try this, correct the flavors. You may need some salt, some more pepper, a bit more stock. You have to figure that out in that moment before we serve it. And remember, this last part has to be in low fire. After this, ready to serve, ready to enjoy. I really hope you enjoy this dish. It's really easy, simple, and as I said before, if you have tried it before, you know how unique and how special this dish is for us. And if you haven't, I hope I'm bringing a little bit of Peruvian culture, taste, and flavor to your tables today. This is the classic version that actually used to be made with hen. That's why it's called Aji De Gallina. Gallina means hen in Spanish. But for obvious reasons, for price, for economy, etc., we use chicken. I hope you like the classic version, but never forget, there are not strict rules in this Peruvian cuisine in these days. If you want to replace an ingredient and make this a vegetarian dish, go ahead. Use mushrooms, use champignons, whatever comes to your mind. Instead of chicken stock, use vegetable stock. Try using meat if you want. I've never tried it, to be honest. Yeah, it's weird. I've never tried with meat. But the thing is that you can try and you can experiment with any other things to make something to satisfy your needs. Talking about cooking, of course. And we'll see each other again. Try this at home, do all the changes you want, and send us a picture. I would love to post that for you, and I'll be so glad to know that you are making something Peruvian back at home. Thank you so much. Until the next time, and I hope you enjoy this dish. Thank you. Bye bye.